Yeah, so that was just sort of the why we're doing that. We've sort of found that we kind of enjoy the tinkering around as much as we do the building of new skills. So.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things, Eric, you and I had talked about this last time I was in Seattle and we were walking around, was the eye-opener for devs in that they don't have to publish everything that they create.
Right.
You know, when you go and you talk to developers, a lot of them may have 10 or more skills. And I tell them, hey, I have like 20 skills in my house that I have not published. They're just things that say funny jokes to my kids or some type of project I've been working on. And that was really, part of the intention of the Alexa Skills Kit was allow people to tinker. There's no cost in any of this. You can use any language that you want. You just go in and you register for a free account. If you don't have anywhere to host it, we do that for you in AWS Lambda. So the whole idea that you could be could be at a hackathon working on AI and robots. You could be at work working on, just a project. You have some free time and you want to go mess around with the device, that you could be able to do that. Have you seen that in the community, in the Alexa dev community, and the people that you talk with and you work with and the people that read your blog is really that tinkerer of how we're going to take this to the next place?
Yeah, actually, for one of our upcoming skills, we put a request out to for beta testers, and one of the guys that jumped on that is a guy. I'm not sure if you've talked to him. His name is Travis Teague, but he's extremely active in the dev community, especially on Slack, helping people solve problems. But he currently has no skills published, at least that I know of. And he's really more interested in just doing his own crazy side projects, maybe
right.
that either aren't applicable to other people or wouldn't make it through certification for whatever reasons. But yeah, he's one of the most valuable resources I think the dev community has right now, and he's just one of these random tinkerers.
And when we talk about, it's funny, so we're talking about the Alexa developer community, and there may be folks that are listening to this that are like, Dave, what the heck is that? Like, I know about the portal page, but I don't know about any of this. And we all know each other, right? We all talk. I have a weekly office hours. You guys hop on. There's a Slack channel. I think it would be great from your perspective. If somebody's new and fresh coming into this, what's the best place for them to start outside of just what Amazon's provided? We just had and we've talked about this. We just had a new forum redesign. So things have changed in how that looks, and we're looking to iterate on that. And so really, where do people start? Where do they go into the forums? Where should they be looking for help? Reddit and Slack and Git. You guys are so in the weeds with that stuff. Yeah. How does somebody get started?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't say that the best place to start is our blog. But beyond that, I would say Slack has sort of become the de facto place that developers are congregating. Especially some of the Reddit channels were pretty good, but they've been slowly drifting more and more consumer focused.
Right.
So that's, if you're trying to start out development, the Slack channel, which you can self-register at, I believe it's alexaslack.com, is probably the best place to go. It's very active. It has, I'm always there, as well as a couple other people you've already mentioned earlier. Joe is always there, Steve Arkonovich. A lot of these, who I would consider the big hitters of the dev community, are always there and willing to help. So I'd say that's the best resource. But there are other things as well. Honestly, like following you and Noel and others on Twitter is a great resource in that you guys are constantly pumping out articles, like links to the Big Nerd Ranch or whatever it is. These other sources aside from just the first party stuff that Amazon's producing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the biggest questions too I get, I just had someone tweet me today. They've created a bunch of stuff extending some libraries and some frameworks, some web frameworks. What did you guys use for the actual languages in your skills? I get asked that all the time. Like for folks who maybe are just getting back into development, I get asked, should I do Node? Should I do Java? Should I do C#? What are examples? Where do I start? So why don't you talk a little bit about what you guys actually used in your own skills, how you've done testing, and then out of that, you have a really popular utility called the Ask Responder. And so how you came about doing that as well. I imagine it was in your own testing and looking at the tools that we had provided and where you needed to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, so a bunch of our tools and skills they're all written in Java, and we have some, I'd say 50-50 split between Lambda hosting, and then we've also got some AWS nodes that we have VIPs pointing to for skills like Complibot and Insaltabot, and our server, I guess, was Drop Wizard we're using to host it. During development of these skills, fairly early on, I guess sometime mid to late last year, we kept running into issues. One of our most popular skills, Complibot and Insaltabot, requires you ask it for a compliment and it gives you back a compliment, or you ask it for an insult, it gives you an insult. But this was before we had the test simulator in the dev user interface. So we were constantly having to iterate over basically what it was going to be saying back, a compliment, and then make sure that it sounded correctly, that the pacing and timing was correct, and stuff like that. And it was extremely difficult because we didn't have any way to rapidly test things.
Yeah, we were essentially having to spin up the entire service every time we wanted to test different content through our Alexa-enabled device, which was a hassle.
It became more of a hassle if you had a state-based service that essentially required you to go like 3 levels deep before you hit some certain state and then test that it says something exactly how you want it to say. So that's when we came across the idea of building the ASK responder, the Alexa Skill Kit responder. And essentially the skill is just a mock response. What you can do is you can upload a mock response, and then whenever you call the ASK responder through your Echo, it will return that response to you. Now, what was so powerful about this is it lets you test just about anything without ever actually coding a back-end skill, which is extremely nice for testing out and playing with new stuff. So like a month or two ago, Amazon released the standard card, which allowed us to test out images.
The images, yeah.
And we wanted to just immediately start playing with it and see how it looks and stuff like that. And that's where ASK Responder came in, and I think we released ASK Responder to the public like a month or so before that because we wanted people to be able to do that sort of thing. But like within minutes, all we needed to do was know the JSON format for the card, and bam, we were in business. We were able to test audio streams and whatnot, which the test simulator still couldn't do for a couple months. I think it can now.
Yeah, now it can, but it couldn't really.
Yeah.
It also lets you test the display of the card format in the Alexa app itself, which Amazon doesn't have something for right now for testing.
Yeah, so when the voice simulator came out, that kind of clobbered half the functionality of the responder, which was, quickly testing how Alexa would speak your SSML or even your just standard text. The card stuff, that's still something that we find really useful, that you can set up a skill to point to this responder thing, and then you could set up whatever card response you want, and then you could see it in your, in alexa.amazon.com or in the Alexa apps on your phone immediately without having to spin up a service or do anything like that. So while a lot of the community right after the standard card came out was figuring out how all that stuff was working, and especially because at the time the cards came out, the Maven repository was not updated for a while, so people couldn't use the...
I remember that. Yeah, you pinged me about that, and we updated. Yep.
But yeah, we were able to hit the ground running, essentially, with that.
Yeah, we were trying to use it for other more nefarious purposes, too.
That's true.
Which you made thing. So